All right, we're back. Tasty Crypto Show. My name is Ryan Grace. With me today, of course, Shelley Van. Shelley, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Yeah, can't complain. It's almost feels like it was 50 degrees out today in Chicago. So I'm good. Wasn't that hot, but sun was shining.
That hot.
What's new with you? What's going on?
My hair is so clean.
Nice.
So clean. I went to a head spa over the weekend and had like each follicle cleaned separately. It was interesting.
Take a while.
Yeah.
Enjoyable experience?
It was strange.
Okay.
That's a whole other show.
All right.
We do it again, but it was strange.
We'll get to that at some point. We've got a lot to talk about today. Up to you. Where do you want to kick it off?
Well, do we have a question for the chat? I think I might have one.
Oh, yeah. We've got to shout out the chat. If you're not watching this on YouTube, get over to YouTube because that's where you can participate in the chat. You can type crazy things in there if you want to. What's the question today?
Do you have any strange hobbies? Okay. For me, I like to photograph bugs.
Bugs?
Bugs.
Oh, okay.
I love bugs.
Learn something new every day here.
Come on, Ryan, you got to have something outside of trading and, you know, all of the tasty things.
This is it. This is all I have. Sad but true. How many bug photographs do you have?
Like a lot.
All right.
Yeah.
I do have a lot of questions, but I'll try to keep it to just one or two more. What's the craziest bug you've ever photographed?
Oh, I've got some gnarly, like big beetle photographs from my travels. I moved back in state just in time to catch the cicadas.
At least you weren't moving back in state for the cicadas.
No, not for the cicadas.
Gonna catch the season.
It just aligned the right way, so I was very excited.
Okay.
I love them.
They're pretty nasty looking. Cicadas.
Says you.
Yeah. I didn't realize how big they were.
Yeah.
So, all right. Your hobby is photographing bugs. I don't have a hobby. I would love to find out what everyone else's hobby is. Let's see who's in the chat today. We got Laura here, Jose, Lone Sophos, what's up? Jen's Quick Reviews, Theta Trader, of course, Ben Butler, John, what's going on? Rustan is here. Whole gang is showing up. And you're repping Rustan's.
This is Rustan's logo.
There you go. Shout out to Rustan. All right, we're seeing a mention of Solana, so we have to just go there.
Let's go.
You can trade Solana at tastytrade now. Again, it was available, then it wasn't available. We're not going to talk about that dark period that we went through here in the crypto industry. Tough couple of years. Solana's back. I hear there are plans to expand the token list as well quite a bit at Tasty. So new product coming. I'm super excited about it. Solana today, Ripple is on deck. I can confirm that. Maybe if we throw it up really quickly, we'll go to the browser and just take a look at this so everybody can see that it is real, Shelley.
It is real. The theme of the day, isn't it?
It is, yeah. I like what you did there. We've got the crypto watch list up here. And if you go to crypto in the watch list tabs, you can see there's not only spot crypto, but also the Bitcoin ETFs. There's options on those ETFs or on some of them. We've got the ETH ETFs in there. And then there are crypto futures becoming more liquid month to month. Definitely seeing a lot more participation there when you look at volume and open interest. But you can trade all of this on the Tasty Trade platform. If you want to trade Solana, you want to trade the spot crypto product here, you have to enable cryptocurrency trading. You can do that in your account management section of your Tasty Trade account. But once you enable crypto trading, you can trade spot Bitcoin, Solana, ETH, everything else that's on this list, and then everything that's it's going to be coming soon too.
Let's go.
Yeah, I'm excited about it because I have a lot of different positions, but this is one of the bigger positions that I have in terms of Bitcoin, ETH, Solana, so I can add to some of the portfolio as well in Tasty Trade.
Love it. Very excited. Welcome back, Solana.
Theta Trader doesn't like it though. Sol is still straight trash, but better than Doge. Okay.
Hot take.
I like it. Fair enough. I don't see any hobbies yet.
Yeah, what? Come on, chat.
What's going on? All right, maybe we'll get some crazy, weird, hopefully don't cross the line too much hobbies as we go.
You're getting some praise, though, for your presentation on Saturday.
Oh,
well done.
Thank you very much. Yeah, just a quick point there. If anybody's interested in the digital collectible, everything you wanted to know about crypto, but were afraid to ask, we did an hour-long presentation through Live Bash, did a live show as well in Tom's coffee shop prior to that on Sunday night. So the recording was on Monday at the beginning of the month, and then we just released this on Saturday. But the presentation for anybody that's brand new to crypto, interested in digital assets, starts with really what this is, talking about it as a technology. We then highlight why it's interesting to people as an investment. We look at it objectively. How has it performed? What's the volatility? How do you think about this within your portfolio? And then we talk about how you can actually start to participate. So going through a lot of different areas of the market, and hopefully is a pretty good primer for anybody that's interested in this.
I think you did awesome.
Well, I appreciate that. So thank you. But let's move on. Solana now available, more tokens coming soon. Check it out over at tastytrade. That said, you alluded to the topic of the day earlier, Shelley. What is it, and why are we talking about this today?
We are getting real, folks. As a proper degen, I'm now growing up, and Ryan, you're my adult. So, as
a proper degen, I guess, what does your participation in the market look like typically?
Okay, so no.
I'll cut you off really quickly. I apologize. You're a very active trader.
Yes.
You trade a lot more than I do, a lot more than many people here.
Yes, very active crypto trader. Okay. From a traditional standpoint, I hold a few stocks, but they just sit there. I don't even look at them. So I know very little from that side of it. So I'm coming at you from like real Web3 native. I will trade crypto all day. But that said, without the traditional skill set or knowledge base, it's been very entertaining, if you will. I'm like, ooh, this is cool. I want it. Or I like the story, or the narrative is shifting this way, and I think this cultural story is going to be interesting to participate in a financial way.
Okay.
So ape-ish, squirrel brain, bam, 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 just sort of everywhere.
What have you been in recently?
Oh my God, my mind just, Trump. And then most recently, actually, are my RWAs. Because last night, I graduated from like adolescent degen to like, okay, now I'm aging out. I'm getting more adult in my trading behavior. Why
did you pick this theme in terms of what's next beyond some of the meme trading?
Because I'm becoming more sophisticated, and I will thank Tasty for that. I was looking at my bags and realizing like, oof, there's a lot of big picture, real world things affecting, the bloodbath that is currently my wallet. And it was like, okay, how do I do this in a smarter way? How do I, diversify my portfolio, if you will, with something less risky?
Okay.
And so what does that mean in crypto?
Okay. I think it's all risky.
Fair.
But in volatility terms, you're clearly on the most volatile end of the spectrum.
Oh, yeah.
That said, I do believe you want to diversify across narratives. I personally wouldn't only hold a bag of microcap AI agents, but also do think that you should have some in your bag, if that makes sense.
Yes.
So I think you've got that base covered.
Oh, yeah.
Another theme that, as we're going to talk about here, is real world assets, obviously. I believe you're going to see become a more prominent theme this cycle. And a lot of that's driven by what we're actually seeing happen on chain, which we're going to talk about, or what we're actually seeing happen within the financial industry. Some of the biggest players are really starting to make some moves, which I think is interesting. It makes it real in some case, no pun intended. But yeah, let's jump into that and talk a little bit more about real world assets. I don't know if you want to run through this or you want me to run through this in terms of what these are.
Oh, I'll let you take this one.
Okay. So what we're talking about here are simply traditional financial assets. think Wall Street, think stocks, bonds. A lot of times when people talk about real world assets, they jump to real estate, like tokenized real estate or fine art. Imagine you could own 1,000th of this painting, whatever that means, a fraction of it. And there is that, obviously. But I think what you're seeing today, like where's the flow, what's actually happening, it's more so Wall Street assets, tokenized securities. So today, well, dollars on chain. The best example of this is probably stablecoins. Mm-hmm. A real world asset, US dollar represented on a blockchain network, stablecoin. It's quite often overlooked when we talk about real world assets. But what you're also seeing, treasury bonds, money market funds, debt instruments. I do believe you're going to see tokenized stocks, but we're not really there just yet. So that's what we're talking about. Just really simply, I guess the real world stuff, the Wall Street assets, the securities that exist today in a very, very big global marketplace, just moving on chain.
Yeah, that's exciting. And I think that even from my, somewhat silly perspective of how I've been participating thus far, I think that even I've noticed in these different regulatory environments, like, oh, it's getting real. It's getting more serious, if you will. And with that, what are the smart moves I can make? What is where's the big money going to go, and how can I get in ahead of it? I think that's kind of where my mind is at and how I'm trying to approach my trades. Okay.
Yeah, I think in that sense, and we'll point out some data here in a moment, it's still very early in terms of kind of front running this flow. That said, there's still a question of whether that flow is coming. But in terms of getting in front of it, kind of just being aware of this, it's definitely early. I think, again, it's going to be an important narrative, certainly one that has room to grow given a more conducive regulatory environment. That's really what it's going to take to get larger institutions involved. But the way that I think about this is like just an upgrade to the financial system. It doesn't replace anything. On the one end of the spectrum, there was a point in time where we did business before email. And so we're moving to the other end of that spectrum continuously. I just think this is an upgrade to the tech stack when you think about how blockchain networks could be involved in tokenizing securities. They're more liquid, more efficient, fractionalized. You can transfer them, trade them, and borrow against them 24/7. It's just a bit more transparent, maybe more efficient of a market, I guess, from that standpoint, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. As a result, I think it's inevitable. But that said, let's just look at one use case or one example of this here today. Beyond stablecoins, that's, in my opinion, the biggest and most real world asset on chain. But I want to talk a little bit more about Ondo Finance, and we also pull in a pretty large, if not the biggest, institutional investment manager in the form of BlackRock, and try to tie this all together for everybody. We will look at some of the tokens, the governance tokens, the ways that you can get exposure to this theme. There's a larger macro trade at play here in terms of just what blockchain networks these platforms are on. But I want to highlight Ondo Finance. If you Google this, it'll be one of the larger real world asset platforms or protocols, applications that pop up. And so Ondo is a tokenized real world asset platform. They have something called the Ondo short-term government treasuries token, or I think of it as a fund, but it's a token. It's on a couple different blockchain networks. It's on Ethereum, Solana, Polygon, and I think within the last 24 hours, just announced that it'll be on Ripple or on the Ripple ledger. But what this is it's a tokenized platform or real world asset platform that has this token that institutional investors can park cash into to generate yield, and it's supported by BlackRock's USD Institutional Digital Liquidity Fund, which is just a tokenized money market fund. I realize, what I'm saying is a tokenized money market fund via Securitize. Arguably an experiment. I mean, in the grand scheme of things, we're only talking about a couple of $1 billion against much, much, much bigger.
We're early.
Very early in that sense. Is it real? Will it work? You're seeing it grow for sure. But this is an example of a large financial institution participating and leveraging public blockchain technology. That's the other important piece to this. And so you can kind of see to some extent with these arrows, the fund flows in that sense, but institutional investors across these different platforms. And when we put institutional investors into this big bucket, but it's a variety of different participants through this token offered by Ondo that's backed by BlackRock or their fund that's on chain, you can now generate yield directly and remain on chain as an institutional investor. That's super important if you're dealing with, well, it's important for anybody, but it's certainly important for somebody that's going to be dealing with billions of dollars, and you would be losing money if you're not generating some interest on that when you're not participating directly and taking risk, let's say. So cash management is probably the way to think about this.
Makes sense.
Yeah, all happening today.
Yeah.
This is not something where, this is an interesting idea. These large institutions are participating in this way. And this is something that's been ongoing, but in an environment where you really haven't had a regulatory framework to adhere to. There is, obviously certainly rules and regulations that these institutions have to abide by. But generally speaking, there's not a regulatory framework for a larger kind of market to evolve, but that's coming. Or maybe to incite more participation in the market.
So you said the institutional investors can get the OUSG. How does someone like me participate in this?
There's not a way for you to directly participate where you're going to be able to hold this token and generate yield. The easiest way for somebody to do that would be to hold USDC, park it with Coinbase or another place. You could even do this on chain in a more decentralized way, but park it somewhere where you're going to be able to generate yield as a retail investor. In this instance specifically, you're not able to, but you can invest in the underlying platform, which is Ondo. You can purchase the Ondo governance token. You can do that through the tastycrypto wallet. You can do that directly on chain through a decentralized exchange, or in some cases, you can get it through centralized exchanges. But that would be the equivalent of really Ondo being a company and investing in some ways. This is how I think about it. It's obviously not the same thing, but in some ways, investing in the stock of that company. Mm-hmm. Ondo's the company. You're investing in this token. It's a governance token. It gives you a voting right. The idea is that if the value created by Ondo grows or increases, the usage of these platforms increases generally through these network effects, that token should be more valuable, all else equal. And that's how you could participate in this theme. So if you're looking at your portfolio and saying, okay, I need to diversify across themes, I've got the memes, I've got the AI, I own a little bit of Bitcoin, I got some ETH, what are possible narratives that I want to ride that wave that you talked about, the importance of kind of being aware of that trend and kind of jumping on and off at the right times? That's trading. This is, I believe, one of those narratives that you want at least on your radar.
Mm-hmm. Awesome. And I see a lot is going on in chat.
Awesome. Yeah, I have just been on a rant, so I haven't noticed. But really quickly, if we can pop up the tastycrypto wallet, I mentioned that this is available through a decentralized exchange. If you have Ethereum, you have USDC on Ethereum in the wallet, you can swap that for Ondo. I'm not sure if we have it on the screen or not, but if we can pull up the tastycrypto wallet, the app here, we'll focus on this in just a second. But yeah, this is just one of many real-world asset platforms that are trying to do similar things in the space.
Theta Trader is asking, isn't there a crypto coin backed by actual gold?
Yes, there is. I want to say it's through Paxos, but yes, commodities as real-world assets, I guess represented in tokenized form, gold is primarily that commodity that we're seeing represented. There's not really like an oil token, if that makes sense. But you have the ETFs that invest in futures. You have a United States oil fund if you want to use an ETF to invest in the price of oil going up, or if you want to short it if it's going down. Those vehicles exist. I expect that you would see something similar. ETFs move on chain, right? I mean, you're seeing the direction that these things are going in. So I think that for people that want to stay on chain, and just as there's an overall shift in how the whole system kind of works over time, for sure, you'll see blockchain networks support a lot of this.
All very exciting.
Yeah. So I don't know if we can get the platform up on the screen, but if we can jump to the browser tab here, I want to take a look at the block. I love the blocks data dashboard here. They've got a ton of different categories. And what we've done is we've clicked on the RWA category in DeFi. So down here on the left-hand side, real world assets. I just want to point out a couple things. Maybe there's some trade ideas here. So where is this all happening today? The majority of this activity, when we look at BlackRock's fund, for example, Buildo, this is on Ethereum. It's moving to other chains, but in the same way that there's more TVL or capital locked up on Ethereum, you're seeing participation there, but also moving to other areas.
So why Ethereum?
I think, as a large institution, you're looking around at this stage, and Ethereum seems to be more of an obvious choice from a security decentralization standpoint. For larger institutions, I think it's less about, when we're talking about some of this, the network fees are probably less relevant than someone who's actively trading as a retail investor. Maybe more secure, more decentralized in some ways. You can also think about that as just also being more robust. It's where the biggest DeFi applications are. It's where the most TVL is. It's been around the longest. It doesn't mean it will be there forever. I don't see why that wouldn't be true, but you know what I mean? Like, it's got the first mover advantage, and it's where you're seeing a lot of activity already. Mm-hmm. And so you see that here today, but important to keep an eye on this. It's also moving to other chains. And so there's a way to possibly look at, okay, what other chains is this happening on and why? And is there a way to trade or invest in that use case? Other platforms like Ondo, possibly, even though, as we've shown here, Ondo is moving to other chains. But yeah, Ethereum is the biggest chain for this, as you can see in blue. If you look at the categories of these Wall Street assets that are moving on chain, it's government securities. What does that mean? Treasury bonds. Very short-term Treasury bills. That's how we get to this money market fund that we're talking about, these investment vehicles that we've highlighted. So still largely in government securities, and then commodities, asset-based finance. I don't know specifically what that is, but you can see real estate, though people jump to it, very small. Commodities, private equity, still early days. You're not even seeing equities on here. Publicly traded equities. So great dashboard for that. Then the one other thing that I wanted to point out is, before we run out of time, DeFi Llama, where you can go to this narrative tracker, and we get back to the idea of diversifying across narratives. And if you go down here, if I go back, you can click on real world assets here. So you can see the whole market cap of the space, given how they've categorized it. It's about 38 billion. Pretty small when you consider the size of some of the companies in the stock market. Again, this is super, super small in the grand scheme of things relative to real world assets. But here are some of the either direct ways to participate or to play this, I suppose, versus some of the other ways to get kind of secondary exposure. Chainlink is an oracle. And so when you need a price to reference that's in the real world so that you can represent it on chain, there's obviously a use case there. Ondo, we've talked about, and a handful of others, but this is a good way to kind of start to just get your feet wet in that sense.
Awesome. Yeah, this is all very exciting. And I think as we've watched just over the last couple of weeks, big things in the world happen, DeepSeek comes out and AI tokens tank. This is something I'm very, very interested in sprinkling.
Yeah, what stands out to me is that you have people like Larry Fink, who run BlackRock, talking about just recently tokenizing or urging the SEC to rapidly tokenize stocks and bonds. You have these huge, institutions that are participating in that sense. The platforms that facilitate this are growing, and then you can look at the activity on chain, and you can see that that's growing as well. So there's a way to trade this from just simply the macro perspective, looking at maybe this is a reason why Ethereum in the future could do better. Or maybe I'm very interested in some of these protocols themselves or these applications themselves to invest in, because there's a real use case here and we can measure the growth of that use case, and it's generating a lot of fees that might be returned to those token holders if there's a regulatory environment that's conducive to those sorts of activities. A lot of this looks like traditional finance. It is, but it's moving on chain. And I think there's going to be a lot of value that's unlocked as a result. So we'll keep an eye on this for sure.
Love it.
Got 1 minute left. Anything, any last words, anything you want to wrap up on here?
I know we can't show the wallet at the moment, but can we just verbally go through how I would get into something like Ondo or Chainlink?
Yeah, absolutely. The way to do that directly on chain through a decentralized exchange, if we use the wallet, is to have USDC or Ethereum, move it to that address that you control. So if you have Ethereum with, let's say, tastytrade, you have USDC with Coinbase, and you want to do something with it on chain, you're going to need to move it outside of that ecosystem, outside of that account, transfer it to the wallet address that you control. And then once it's there, you can just swap this within the app. So in the same way that you have the concept of funding a brokerage account, once you have your funds on chain that are in your control, you can sign transactions, you can trade in the wallet. So you can trade ETH for Ondo or USDC for Ondo, or you can go to a decentralized exchange directly, such as Uniswap, connect to it and trade it there, assuming there's liquidity. But you can do that through the tastycrypto app, even though Ondo isn't offered through tastytrade. You can get ETH there.
So get ETH at tastytrade, put it over in my tastycrypto wallet, and then swap.
Then you can trade it for some of these other tokens. Would love to get to the point where it would be true that you could move USDC directly on chain. I think there's a huge value add there, so we're going to work on that as well.
Awesome.
Yeah. Exciting stuff.
Well, we've learned a little bit about, let's see, somebody makes puppets. I'm not the only weird hobby.
What kind of puppets? You know, details matter with some of these hobbies. What kind of bugs?
We've got some gamers, Magic the Gathering. Let's go.
Grumpy Mike, cardboard boxes. Yeah, I was going to say, we're kind of getting into that hoarder territory. You know, one step away from my collect trash. No offense, Grumpy Mike, but you're right. That's hoarder territory for sure.
I love doing laundry. Does that count?
As a hobby?
I mean...
No. It's a chore. All right, we've got a wrap on that. We've got Victor Jones up next with The Price of Truth. Don't miss it. Shelley, can we announce the new show yet, or we're going to wait for that? I know we feel like we've hinted at it, because I was just trying to figure out what to say next. No one's going to see you until next Wednesday, but pretty soon they're going to see more of you.
Yes.
More often.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's going to be so much fun.
New show coming soon. We'll leave it there. I'll be back on Monday with Katie. Until then, I'm Ryan.
I'm Shelley.
Peace.